Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Policy Beats. In June 2025, the Middle East witnessed an explosive 12-day war between Iran and Israel, a rare moment of direct confrontation which was previously shaped by shadow warfare. In June 2025, after months of rising tensions and series of limited reciprocal strikes, Israel launched a large-scale operation targeting Iran's nuclear infrastructure and conventional military assets. This was not just a bilateral clash, it actually exposed deep fractures in the regional order, questioned the effectiveness of global diplomacy, and left countries like Pakistan navigating a very familiar dilemma: how to uphold the principle without getting caught in the crossfire. In this episode, we speak with a seasoned Pakistani diplomat to unpack the roots of the Iran-Israel war, the strategic moves on both sides, and the muted response of the international community, and what it all means for Pakistan's foreign policy, regional security, and the unresolved struggle for Palestine. Ambassador Asif Ali Durrani is a senior research fellow here at IPRI. He is a career diplomat and journalist who had served as Pakistan's special representative on many occasions to the UN. And apart from being an ambassador at the UN platforms, he has also been an ambassador to Iran and UAE, also served in New Delhi, New York, London, and many other assignments are to his credit. And very recently, he was the special representative to Afghanistan. Thank you so much, sir, for taking out the time for this podcast.
Thank you, Javeri. Thank you. Good to be here.
Sir, I will get right at the first question that comes to mind is that what exactly were the core triggers of the Iran-Israel confrontation, and to what extent was this war just an outcome of the long-term regional dynamics compared to what many would argue are recent provocations?
Javeri, it was already brewing ever since the Iranian Revolution took place 46 years ago. So Iran was put under sanctions by the United States, and then Israel became the enemy number one for the Iranians. And throughout the Iranian revolutionary dispensation, it took Israel as the number one competitor, and they wanted to champion the Palestinian cause. However, Iranian Revolution also had its adversaries, not only Israel, but also in the Middle East, especially the Gulf states, because Iran had deposed a monarchy, and it was considered to be a threat to Gulf monarchies. And Americans were also standing behind the Gulf monarchies. So it was, again, you can say, and the Iranian Revolution took place during the thick of the Cold War.
Yes.
So there were camps. But Iranian slogan was neither east nor west. So that was another, you can say, the third option which was available to the world, especially to the Islamic world. But somehow there were opponents to Iranian revolution, and they also committed mistakes because in the revolutionary setup they tried to expand revolution, and they thought the best defense in defending the revolution is to expand it. But in the process they stretched too thin. Their liabilities became enormous, especially from Iraq to Syria to Lebanon, and also they entered in an alliance with Hamas. So in a way, Israel considered it as a direct threat, not only inside occupied Palestine, but also Lebanon being a neighbor of Israel, and in Syria being a neighbor of Israel. And behind it was Iraq. So therefore, in the initial stages, Iran had to face 8 years of war from Saddam Hussein, which in fact weakened both sides. But at the same time, Saddam Hussein became bold and he tried to swallow Kuwait, and then the Middle Eastern politics changed. But at the same time, Iran was considered to be a linchpin in resisting the American influence. The results were mixed. So here, coming back to Iran-Israel direct confrontation. Again, it was brewing since last year when Israel decimated first to Hamas and then to Hezbollah. They took out their leaders, whether Ismail Haniya or Nasrullah, Hassan Nasrullah. And then the final setback Iran had to face was the deposition of Bashar al-Assad in December last year. So therefore, Israel had a calculated plan of weakening Iran's overseas assets. And you can see that during the 12-day war, there was nothing from Syria. Lebanon was silent.
Absolutely.
Iraq was silent. Iraq is otherwise a Shia majority country, but now it is more inclined to identify itself with the Arab nationalism than so-called Shia allies. So I think it was quite a calculated plan. And Israel, I think, has succeeded, at least for the time being, in isolating Iran in that so-called Shia crescent, which comprise Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and of course Hamas was there, as I've said. So you can say it was already brewing up. And now, if we talk about whether it has harmed Iran, it has. But is Iran now out of this game? No. Iran may be down, but it's not out. And it proved that it can also penetrate to Israel's impregnable defense system. They, in fact, penetrated into their Iron Dome. And I think that must have been a shock to the Israelis.
So it's quite interesting that you say this, because there are still talks, they're still telling each other that we can take war, we can take war. They're still making headlines on that. So coming back to how the war took place itself, how did Iran and Israel pursue their strategic objectives during the war, directly and through the proxy networks that function, as you mentioned? And what does this reveal about the evolving nature of warfare in the Middle East?
Well, there doesn't seem to be a long haul, you can say, in terms of in military terms, but there will be surprises. And one thing is clear, that neither United States or Israel are committed to are inclined to commit their troops in Iran. So unless there is a physical capture, I think it would remain a ping pong through their drones and missiles, a ping pong game with them. So as far as direct military confrontation is concerned, but Israel and America did try to have regime change in Iran. But with the attack on Iran's nuclear facilities, especially the United States attack at Natanz, Fordow, and Isfahan, and President Trump claimed that he has obliterated Iran's nuclear capability, which I doubt. The message has not gained favor in Iran. Even if those who would not support Iranian clergy, they have also now rallied behind the Iranian flag, because there is a widespread support to Iran's nuclear program. For the timing, or prima facie, it is for peaceful purposes, which Iran has declared. And Iran is also a member of the NPT.
Yes.
And under Article 4 of the NPT, Iran has the right to have access to nuclear technology for peaceful purposes, like any other NPT signatories have. So, but for Israel and United States, regime change hold the key. Because if they have a regime which favors them, so then they can manipulate Iran's nuclear program. But if the present regime stays, so they will pursue their nuclear program. And it is why there's absolute opposition to Iran's nuclear program is Iran's control over the nuclear fuel cycle. If Iran can, and under the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, JCPOA, has allowed Iran to have low enriched uranium of 3.67%. But Americans did not agree to that, and it was absolutely because the Israelis were also behind it. If Iran attains that technology, which it already has it, so whether it is 3.6% or low enriched uranium to plus 90%, which becomes weapon grade uranium or fuel, process is the same. So it is the capability.
Okay.
And they fear, I mean, America and Israel fear that if they have the capability, intentions can change. I can draw a parallel. India conducted its nuclear explosion in 1974 and called it peaceful nuclear explosion, PNE. Had we believed India's assurances of peaceful nuclear explosion, then I think we would have ended nowhere.
Absolutely.
So we had to, in parallel, develop our capabilities. Therefore, here comes 98. India declares its changes its intention and declares itself as a nuclear weapon state. So we responded. Because they changed their intention, so we had to reciprocate. Because the world was mute during that 15 days pause between gap between Indian declaration and our explosions. There was a mute response, and as if the world waited for our explosions, that then they came up with the UN Security Council condemning both. The UN Security Council did not pass a resolution immediately against India, and we were being persuaded not to do that.
So the narrativization was of an Islamic bomb. Whichever bomb was
that was nonsensical.
Exactly.
But I mean, if that is the case, then you have Hindu bomb, then you have Christian bomb, and then Muslim world can't be blamed for the Hiroshima or Nagasaki
Absolutely.
or the First or Second World War. It was not the Muslim world. And Israel came into being. It was not because Palestinians had done anything wrong.
Absolutely.
So Israelis were, sent there. I mean, these Jews were sent there, and it became a state. It is a manufactured state. It did not come up from the soil the way it was, or it should have been.
Absolutely. So when it comes to the role of Hezbollah, the Houthis, even when Israel's onslaught was happening on Gaza, the Houthis had responded by disrupting the supply chain in the sea lanes. And during the war as well in Iran, we saw that these proxies were in some way trying to create those impacts. So, do you think Israel achieved whatever strategic aim that it was trying to achieve by instigating this war with Iran?
Well, partially yes and partially no. Yes, because on the ground they could harm and they could damage the capabilities of Hezbollah and Hamas. Houthis are actually not in geographically direct, but through the sea lanes, yes, they are a threat to free navigation of goods and services. That is a threat. And I think that they can also be taken care of because there's no, they don't have a support in a manner that it should have been, or that could have sustained them. And then they are also fighting an internal turmoil also within Yemen. So I think that can be taken care of. But here is the way Israel has indulged in genocide, actually, that is very dangerous because that is actually challenging the sentiments of the Muslim all around the world. Forget about the rest of the world. And then I will also praise the rest of the world that I would rather say that Western streets are more sensitive and they are more vocal and they are more on the streets than, say, the Muslim world, especially the Arab streets. So it is quite visible, but it is brewing. and it can explode because the way, and I think coming from Israel is also shameful because Israel had passed through the turmoil of Holocaust.
Yes.
They faced that, and how come those on whom there are hundreds of books and movies about the Holocaust, they can do such atrocities, such savagery next door in Gaza?
So they do it in the as preemptive that it may happen to them again. Therefore, they're doing it. These are, of course, flawed claims and flawed justifications, as you say. With regards to the global responses, sir, during this particular time frame of the war, from the U.S., China, and Russia, it somewhat indicates the shifting power dynamics in the Middle East as well. So, what do you think? Who holds the real influence over escalation and restraint now?
At the moment, as far as escalation is concerned, it is the United States. Because the United States is deeply involved in the Middle Eastern affairs, and the United States is also involved and is responsible for fully supporting Israel, and which has emboldened the Zionist regime to do whatever they want. And so, in a way, United States is also responsible for the Israeli genocide. Otherwise, I think if President Trump wants to end this genocide, so it can happen within 1 hour. This is so, and it is not happening, and which is unfortunate. And that also give rise to the suspicions that there could be sinister designs on the part of the United States in order to have just one state solution, and that is not the solution. And which is why I think Saudi Arabia is also having difficulty in negotiating with the Israelis about the recognition issues. So there has to be a two state with Jerusalem as its capital, and the borders have to be redrawn to 1967 positions. This is the minimum. You can talk about Palestinian issue, Palestinian right to self-determination. That's very important.
Okay. And sir, what about China? Since China is coming forward as one of the competitor in the global realm against the US, what kind of role do you foresee for China within the Middle East?
China is a soft power as compared to United States as a hard power in the present milieu, and especially if you focus on the Middle East. So is Russia. But when you come to Iran, now it is now Iran's military equipment is now of Chinese make or Russian make, and they are switching over to that. And both the countries have also emerged as Iran's strategic partner.
Exactly.
So when it comes to, say, if there is again a warlike situation, then I think Iran can depend on Russia and China.
Okay.
And so in that manner, you can say these powers will have a role. Also at the UN Security Council.
Yes, definitely.
When on about this 12-day war, Pakistan, China, and Russia sponsored a resolution in the UN Security Council. Although it was before it could be presented, it was vetoed by the United States, so it could not be done. But the countries they presented. So in this way, I think now at a greater, if you expand this entire canvas, so it is the region. And when I say region, it is Central Asia, Russia, China, Pakistan, Iran.
West Asia.
And West Asia then is the Middle East. It has not reached there. I'm talking immediately as far as the region, the emerging trends and the preferences are the countries I have listed. India is on the fringes because of its dubious role. It is running with the hare and hunting with the hound. So they want to be so-called quote-unquote net security provider, which myth was shattered during the 4-day war. But the regional powers would not believe in India. They would always look at India with suspicion. So for the time being, India is out of the equation as far as this regional alliance is concerned. Although India shares membership with SCO, and then India is also one of the founders of BRICS. That is there. But India has given precedence to Quad. India has is very close to the United States now, and so this kind of an equation is also emerging. So it is coming back to your question as far as regional politics is concerned, Russia and China's role. So in the back of it, it would be the region.
Okay.
And then I think if the United States does not play its card deftly, then it will also harm the United States' interests, and it would be virtually out of the region.
Sir, of course, Iran is a very close neighbor to Pakistan. Our borders are connected. Anything that may occur in Pakistan or Iran naturally affects the people that work there. So, how do you think Pakistan has interpreted this war, especially when it just came out of its own conflict with India just a month before this happened? Are we understanding this as a cautionary tale, a diplomatic opportunity, or just a moment that challenges its existing ideas of balancing our foreign policy?
I think Pakistan played its role in this entire war between Israel and Iran very maturely. And Pakistan's deft diplomacy was that Iran is a next door neighbor. It's a brotherly country. We have stood by each other throughout, ever since our independence. And which is quite visible, the kind of sentiment now is being expressed in Iran in praise of Pakistan. More importantly, if anything happens to Iran, we will be, being direct neighbors, will be impacted. So therefore, our support to Iran and our condemnation of Israeli action was very well noted, both sides, whether it's Israel or United States or here in Iran. But we have a case which is different from the other partners or the world players. We, being the direct neighbor, our interests are much more serious. And if anything happens to Iran, as I said, will negatively impact if there's a war. And war situation does not suit any party, even to Israel. You know, it would be devastating for Israel also.
They have suffered great losses.
They did. So the question is that in this day and age, gone are the days when you used to, ride your horses and then you just would deluge your enemies and all. It's no more there. It is now a war of perceptions. So American and Israeli narrative is there are very less takers. Like India's so-called Operation Sindoor, there are almost no takers about India's narrative. Reason is that it was based on conspiracy. It was based on a particular mindset, promoting Hindutva ideology inside India, and Pakistan is taken as a scapegoat. But they have failed because Pakistan displayed very open policy on this entire episode, and we were quite clear that we offered India to have neutral inquiry.
Sir, as we speak on India and as you mentioned Operation Sindoor, it has been pointed out on many occasions that there is an Indo-Israel nexus emerging, whereby we've also seen Israeli operators or companies hoping to work in Kashmir as well. There have been reports of such instances as well. The fear that if Iran would fall to Israeli influence, already, it strengthens the Indo-Israel nexus further then. Your comment on that?
Javeria, I think give credit to Pakistan.
Absolutely.
It's not that I'm a Pakistani, I'm doing that. We withstood the Soviets' pressure when they were knocking our doors when they entered Afghanistan. And there were analyses that now next would be Pakistan and the Soviet Union would reach the warm waters.
Yes.
Then we had the 9/11. And India tried to hijack everything in Afghanistan. We accepted that challenge. And we have accepted direct challenge, whether it was their misadventure at Balakot or recently when they had on May 7th.
Yes.
So I think we have displayed our prowess and then it has been registered very well. We have economic problems, but those are temporary. Brazil had 2,000% inflation rate way back in 96, 97. Argentina had more than 2,000% inflation rate. Brazil is now one of the leading economies in the world. So we will manage our economy. Our population is ideal. Of course, I'm also alarmed with the growth it is having, but we can manage it. So, and in the region, when you talk about Pakistan's geopolitical and geostrategic position, cannot be undermined or underestimated. So we will, and if Israelis they think or Indo-Israeli alliance they can try to do anything, they are involved in supporting. Indians are involved in supporting TTP through Afghan proxies, and with the Baloch dissidents, they are doing that with directly. And in fact, these BLA, BRA openly and blatantly admit that they are getting assistance from India. And Israelis also want, because its neighbors Iran and there's problem in Iran and Balochistan also, they may be involved. I have no doubt about it. And then you may have seen that Indo-Israeli nexus in Doha, where 8 naval officers of
Yes.
Indian Navy were given death sentences for working Israel. So I'm not surprised that Israel did that trick inside Iran also when they killed the Iranian top brass and top scientists. And it was Iran's intelligence failure, admitted.
There are speculations that it may have been India facilitating Israeli
It is there
intelligence.
because Indian IT experts in hundreds were working in Iran. And so when we talk about Indo-Israeli nexus, that could have easily worked for Israel, these Indians sitting in Iran. Like Kulbhushan Yadav,
Yes, he was.
running his jewelry business from Chabahar, and he became so bold that he would traverse the border and come to our Balochistan where we arrested him. So this is going on, and I think our people are capable enough and strong enough to deal with that. You will have setback. We have had some setbacks, but we have accepted India's challenge. And that is, there's no denying the fact. And more importantly, unless India mends its ways and address the core issues, I can assure you that Pakistan will continue to challenge it anywhere, whether it's bilateral diplomacy or multilateral fora. We are bound to take up the issues which are of our national interests.
Absolutely.
And Kashmir tops the agenda.
Absolutely, sir. So, I mean, of course, the region is consistently facing these challenges. And as you mentioned, that Pakistan is ready to take on these challenges. All sides that were involved in the 12-day war claimed victory, and especially US President Donald Trump, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and Iran's leadership has also declared success, each in their own distinct rhetoric. However, these declarations, along with Trump's promise to deliver peace in the Middle East, could be taken with caution, of course. We saw how changes were made in Syria, how still there are clashes taking place. within Middle East and especially Israel that still continues to bombard Gaza, bombard aid trucks that are coming in to provide food to the Gazans. So the situation is not seeming to be coming to an end. Rather, it's only becoming more entrenched in chaos. Lastly, sir, I would ask you that what would true leadership in conflict resolution actually look like, especially for a middle power like Pakistan, to act as a constructive player in the prevention of escalation as we witnessed?
I think that shows you have to show performance about that. So stability comes through your determination, and that has been displayed during 4-day war with India. And it has, in fact, been noticed all around the world, and all, especially in the region. So, and the Indians who tried to make Pakistan quote unquote irrelevant, it must have been a nightmare for the Indian thinkers, and those who are ideologues and who thought that they have a control over the foreign affairs, and then those who claimed that they are the wish guru, world leaders. So I think it's there. And for us, we don't have to have a loudspeaker sort of announcement on loudspeaker. We are like a Persian couplet which says that Moshkan ast ki khud biboyed na ki attar bigoyed, which means the fragrance is the one which speaks for itself. It is not the perfume seller who would say that this is the fragrance. So I think our action spoke louder than whatever we may have had to say.
Thank you so much, sir, for taking out the time for our podcast. It was a pleasure to host you. And there is, of course, a lot to learn. Your insights have always proven to be valuable for our institute. And now that first time I got to cover you on my podcast as well.
Thank you, Javed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. We will see you again for another episode on Policy Beats.